Hi, I'm Lewis, also known as Skeffels, and welcome to my 20th devlog for my tower defense game, Projectile. 20 seems like such a big milestone. I'm both baffled that I've managed to get so far, and happy that I haven't given up. Last week I worked on tower upgrades and a projectile system, in which I implemented some projectile ideas from game dev basics. I asked for more projectile and tower ideas, and received some fantastic suggestions. Horsepower Apocalypse suggested a knockback tower to push enemies away, and the Ballista Tower that will only fire in one direction. Neat Games suggested a chain lightning tower to hit multiple enemies at once, and my flatmate brought up the idea of homing projectiles and damage types. Thanks for these ideas, they are all fantastic, and this week I'm going to begin implementing them. I think this area will be better as a rectangle. Whoa, that's crazy. I love it. What the hell's going on here? It's now the end of my development week, and I've managed to get some fantastic progress with these ideas. The first thing I implemented was knockback. I figured the best way to do this was to give all projectiles a knockback amount, so it can easily be added to any projectile. This works quite well, although I have to be quite careful about how powerful knockback is, because multiple towers could cause the enemy to get knocked back quite far, and because the knockback is only applied to the current velocity, then it could cause the enemy to come off the path. I can show this quite well if I give my projectile a little bit more knockback. Here the enemy jumps off the path. Now you can imagine with multiple towers this effect stacking up and the enemy ending somewhere down here. The next thing I implemented was a Ballista Tower, which is a tower that can only shoot in one direction. This works out quite well, although it was quite a big change compared to my other towers because all the other towers assume a circular radius and the same set of targeting modes. Luckily, the way I implemented targeting last week meant I could easily override the default target modes. This means the tower can be in up, down, left or right mode. With that sorted, I added a function to adjust the watch area to be a rectangle in front of the tower rather than a circle centered around it. I'm glad I got this working because it's a very different type of tower than I currently have, although I do feel it looks odd. Perhaps that's because I've been looking at round towers for the last 20 weeks, I don't know. Either way, if you have any idea how to improve this, please let me know. The next idea I implemented was chain lightning, in which projectiles hit multiple enemies as if they were struck by lightning. What I made for this works really well, although I'm not too sure if it could be considered lightning, but it certainly has a chain effect. Essentially, this is a regular projectile, and when it hits an enemy, it chooses a random enemy within range to target next. This behaviour continues until the projectile has hit its maximum number of enemies. So it ends up with this really cool effect with the projectile zooming around out of control. I suspect if I implement a particle system with this, it might look like lightning, but right now a particle system's out of scope for this project. The next idea I looked at was homing projectiles, in which a projectile moves directly towards the target. This works out really well, although because of the close proximity between the towers and the enemies, it's quite a subtle effect, but you can definitely see these projectiles curving towards their targets. The next idea I implemented was a Boomerang Arc, in which a projectile comes back to the tower after it reaches its distance. I really like how this turned out, and I can see this adding some great variety to the towers available in the game. I also put some thought into adding a proper arc for the projectile to take. However, the way that my projectiles are implemented, I decided that arcing their movement is out of scope for the project. The very last idea I implemented was damage types for projectiles. This system was inspired by Dungeons & Dragons, in which creatures have weaknesses and resistances. The basic overview of the system is that each projectile has a damage type, which at the moment can be blunt, piercing or slashing. Enemies have a weakness list, which causes those projectiles to hit twice as much, and a resistance list, which causes those projectiles to hit half as much. I'm hopeful that when it comes to making a list of towers next week, I can use this damage system to balance the game and make you play in a more strategic manner. This system is great and I think it has potential for expansion. For example, the explosion projectile I made last week could be a damage type, which means explosive projectiles could be implemented to any other projectile that I choose. However, this is out of scope for the current stage. This week has been absolutely fantastic. Getting all of these projectiles and tower ideas in place means that next week I can actually make a list of towers for you to play the game with. Again, I'd like to thank everyone that suggested ideas and has given feedback on the game. It's slowly getting there and I'm super excited seeing this progressing. Can't wait to finish the current stage of the project. I hope you enjoyed watching this devlog for Project Torrim. Leave the video a like to let me know you did, comment to give any feedback, and subscribe to keep up to date with the progress on the game. Thank you and goodbye.